Well, Harmon, it's been quite a journey getting here, but finally, I'm with you at your home, and although we've known each other for some time,
Yeah.
we've finally met.
What a pleasure. What a pleasure.
Good to see you, Harmon. Good to see you.
You've done so much for us by getting our story out. I can't tell you how much we appreciate that.
Well, I think you've done so much for everyone by getting the information out.
I hope so.
One of the things I wanted to do on this trip, Harmon, was for everyone to get to know you here in your home rather than just a face behind a computer screen, which I guess we kind of still are because people are watching it this way, but this will be a kind of a more intimate introduction. Why don't we go inside the house? It's a beautiful home, by the way, and this is a rental home that
It's one that Carolyn and I rented. We couldn't, after the earthquakes, we couldn't find a house that wasn't already rented. There was tens of thousands of homes destroyed, and so we just had to take what we could get. And obviously this is a very, very nice home. We paid a bit more for it weekly than we wanted to, but we had to get into a house. That house that we were in had been destroyed, and so everybody was scrambling for anything they could get.
Right.
Since we arrived here, of course, with all of the economic downturn going on after the earthquakes, things have been pretty rough for us, but we've managed to sort of hold the line. But when Carolyn left here in September 2015, and then all of a sudden couldn't return, I ended up being stuck here without her, and it didn't make any sense for me to try to move because moving was too expensive, and there wasn't a lot that I could move to anyway. So I've just managed to maintain this, hoping against hope that we could bring her home. And every day that goes by, every week that goes by, every month that goes by, we think that it's possible. And now that's gone on now for 2 years and 8 months, which is just unbelievable for us.
Right.
We would never have believed it. And visiting with my attorney this morning, and they know me really well, the guy's wife came out and she gave me a hug and she said, "I just can't believe that the government is doing this to you." She said, "This makes no sense at all, and yet from a legal standpoint we keep trying our best to see what we can do. This has got to be political. This has got to be something that's really hidden,
right,
and we just can't seem to dig it up yet." But she said, we will never stop.
And you know, Harmon, I think it's worth mentioning that although you've had your problems with the New Zealand government and you're America's first refugee, you've been a very successful businessman.
Yeah.
So, you know, owning or renting a home such as this is certainly something that you deserve for your hard work, and everybody wants to be successful.
Well, I'm holding down the home front. I want my wife to come home. This is our home.
Right.
As we go through this house, you will see that everything that you look at in this house tells you that there's a woman here, that there's a couple that lives here.
Well, let's take a look. Let's go inside.
We've been pretty well off, generally speaking, although we've had to struggle like everybody else here after the earthquakes.
Right.
We're continuing to hang in there, quite frankly.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that some people, you know, will see this home and feel it's maybe much nicer than their own home. Certainly it's way bigger than my apartment in New York, and it's a beautiful home. It's a beautiful neighborhood.
Yeah.
This house over here kind of reminds me of the Brady Bunch.
That's right. The Kiwis' sense of architecture is very different.
It's a beautiful neighborhood.
It takes you back to, some of the architecture here takes you back to the 50s and 60s.
Yeah.
You know? But that's a very unusual home. And then as you look at the other homes just further down the road, it's every kind of architecture imaginable. That house just that you're looking at there just got built in the last year and a half. And Carolyn and I were sort of teasing them that with no windows out front and those big long windows, it looks a bit like a prison.
Oh boy.
And yet it's been bought and sold now. The last year and a half, it's been bought and sold twice. So people have bought it, sold it, and somebody else has gotten into it.
Right.
But everybody around here is pretty nice. I mean, they're reasonably private, but pretty nice folks.
Well, it's a beautiful neighborhood, and I think it's nice for people to see. I mean, most people in the United States, I don't think, have been to New Zealand,
No.
and it's been certainly substantially different than any other country that I've been to. It's not like Europe. It's not like America or South America or China or anything like that. So it's interesting. It's always nice to travel.
If you tried to buy one of these homes right now, this home that I'm in would probably be around 1.2 million New Zealand dollars, which is about, what, 800,000 US dollars. Homes in New Zealand are more expensive than just about any place else in the world.
Wow. Why is that?
Well, I suppose a lot of people want to come here at this point in time, and there's always a limited supply of homes.
Premium
so it just
real
drives
estate,
the price up, yeah.
Well, let's go inside and take a look
Sure.
around and, you know, talk to everybody about what's going on. I know you said you can't discuss what went on at the lawyers this morning, but it's also important for us to remind everybody that you're not asking for any money from anyone.
No.
You're not asking for
No.
anything other than to get your story out and to get your
my
rights
life back and get my family restored.
Right. So here we go. This is like Harmon Wilfred Cribs. You ever see that show on MTV?
No.
This is the front door, right?
That's the front door, that's right.
So I'll follow you.
Sure.
You take us on a little tour. And this is great because people are going to get to know you now.
And there's a chicken in the pot. You can smell that chicken.
It smells delicious.
Too bad you can't transfer that on the camera.
Yeah. Okay, so take us through the house, Harmon.
Let's just get some lights on here. You're going to see my unmade bed, but that's okay because that's the way I ran out this morning. So you get to see me the way I am. I know. This is there's two sets of garages in this place, and this is my workout room.
Oh, very nice.
This is my gym, if you want to call it that. And this is where Carolyn and that's Carolyn's little workout seat there that she uses. She's got a vibration machine. We've got a cross trainer, a Bowflex, and just behind you here is a inversion table.
Oh, I love
which
those
we use
things.
quite a lot as well.
Yeah.
That really keeps your back straight and keeps you
I
healthy.
agree.
We're really into health, and Carolyn's really into food type health. She really believes that you have to let your medicine be your food and your food be your medicine.
I agree with
and so
her.
we really are into making sure that we keep in good shape. So
That's so funny that you have the gravity inversion table. I have one as well.
Do you?
Yeah,
Cool.
it's a pretty rare item. Most people don't have those.
Well, and at our age, and I don't apologize for my age at 68. Hey, we're in pretty good shape.
I agree.
The master bedroom's back here.
And of course, Harmon, if there's anything that you don't want to share, you don't have to.
Oh, I left in a hurry this morning, but this is the master bedroom here, and the bathroom for that is just around the corner.
Mm-hmm. It's beautiful light coming in the room.
Mm-hmm.
It's a really lovely home, and you know, oh, you got a dream catcher in the window there.
Yeah, Carolyn's really into dream catchers.
I'll tell you, Harmon, when I see a house like this and think about you being all alone in it, it's almost like it's also sad, even though it's a beautiful home. You're all alone. It's so quiet here.
I know. As I say, to try to move somewhere right now would just be ridiculously expensive. It doesn't make any sense because, God willing, she'll be home anytime. Now,
Right.
this was always Carolyn's office and her craft room. I've moved her desk out and put it in the living room so I could sort of consolidate things and not be wandering all over the house. So right now, it's a little bit messy. We're using it for some storage in here, but you can see all the things, all the photographs. There's a picture of the cat. There's a picture of her daughter. You know, she's really into kids and crafts, and she's got her sewing machine over here, and she's going to kill me for showing you the mess, but
No, it's not a mess. Hello, kid. You got lamb chop over there.
Our doggie passed away about a year ago, and just broke her heart because we had the dog for 14 years.
Oh, and she wasn't here.
And she wasn't here, so I've had to take all the doggy stuff and put it in here to sort of get it out of the way. And you'd love this. This is a pet carrier, and while Carolyn was here, we would put the cat in there on my back, and we would walk all over the neighborhood. Everybody loved that, but I've not been able to do that because you can't really put her in there and keep it open, and unless you got somebody with you to kind of look behind and make sure she's okay. So try to do that by yourself. It wasn't terribly safe. So I have not had her in that carrier since Carolyn left, and that's 2 years and 8 months ago. So,
I mean, the room looks obviously untouched, just as if she left this morning.
that's right. That's right. That's what's weird about it. I mean, she lives here. This is her home. And to rip her away from her home, literally slam the door on her on the way out, and really fool her, they deceived her into believing that everything was fine. That she could go over there, she had put in for her residency, and that was in, and they said, well, you can be overseas while your residency is being considered, blah, blah, blah. And then all of a sudden, bang, they slammed the door on her, and
How long did you guys live in this house together before she left?
We moved in here 2000 and we've been here. I just started on the 6th year back in March, and she was here. Let's see, probably two and a half years she was here.
Mm-hmm. And how long have you lived in New Zealand?
Since 2001.
Wow, 17 years.
Yep.
Wow.
So we're residents here, really.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, this is our home.
Yeah.
And to have a home like this and to know that your wife's not here is just crazy.
And if none of this complication with the CIA occurred, you'd be a citizen by now after 17 years.
Probably pretty easily. But if they, honestly, if the CIA thing hadn't occurred and they hadn't joined with Canada,
right,
to colluded with Canada to try to destroy me and or kill me, for God's sake, we wouldn't have fled Canada. We wouldn't have fled North America. We wouldn't have had any of these issues.
It's interesting.
I mean, it's interesting how time goes on and everything has an effect on everything, you know.
Well, let's continue through the house, shall we?
Sure. This is the family room, kitchen, dining room, sort of in one big room, which many houses nowadays have those sorts of designs.
It's a beautiful kitchen.
What
you
you
cook
see
a lot?
Is what you get. I do, yeah. I enjoy cooking. I think I told you when I was in those prisons that I did a lot of cooking.
Yeah, you did tell me that you were baking and and kind of improving your and everybody else's life there in the prison by doing that.
There's the kitty on her tree over
there.
there.
Yes.
That's Bella.
Uh-huh.
She is a ragdoll cat.
Is that a type of cat, a ragdoll cat?
That's right.
She's very fluffy.
Miss Bella, good girl. Look at you.
So at least you've got some company here in the house.
Pink nose and blue eyes. She likes to sit on the top of her cat tree there and watch the birds. And then this is the formal living room here.
More exercise equipment.
Yeah, you'll note. Yeah, believe me, I got to keep it going. You'll note that there's nothing much hanging on the walls because it's a rental house. You're really not allowed to punch holes in the walls to hang things up. So a lot of the pictures and prints and things that we've had over the years and paintings, we've had to store while we were sort of waiting for things to improve and to get back in our own home again. Of course, when we moved here, we bought a really nice home in Christchurch down on the beach in a place called Sumner. But we ended up having to sell that when things started getting difficult, and we started renting then just to sort of wait until we got back on our feet. But that's
difficult. You mean with the government or financially? Oh,
financially because of the earthquakes and all the other things that were going on. So
I see. No, talk to me about this statue over here. Let's look at that.
Let's turn the light on so you can see.
Sure.
That's Moses. Moses was hand-carved. He's solid oak. He's about 200 pounds of solid oak. He was hand-carved in 1928 by the Globe Furniture Company in Ontario, Canada.
Huh.
And see, I've got him in the bulrushes here, you see.
Yeah.
But he was in the family home. He was first in a church many, many years ago. And her father, Carolyn's father, decided that he wanted him in his entryway when they were going to tear down the church. And he managed to get it. And when I met her and we went to the family home, I saw Moses in the entryway and just fell in love with that. I said, "Wow!" I said, "If you ever decide you want to part with Moses, I want him."
You said that to Carl.
To Carl, yeah. And when we moved to New Zealand, he and his wife back then, they were still alive, decided they would downsize, and they called Carolyn and said, "If you want Moses, here he is." So we called the moving company. We had him specially crated.
Wow.
And it's got to be the largest body of water that Moses has ever parted.
So your relationship with Carl Dare wasn't entirely adversarial.
Well, Carl was a very, how could you say this? He was pretty objective fellow, generally speaking. I mean, I could sit down and have a decent conversation with him, but in the background, because I stood up to him, and on Carolyn's behalf a number of times, he was very wary of me, and he did everything he could to try to get me out of Carolyn's life for sure, but it didn't work, obviously. Well,
but was that because of the CIA stuff, or?
Yeah, partly because of the embarrassment, and mainly because I stood up to him. I mean, he had Carolyn under control, and at one point in time when he was showing her some disrespect, I jumped in him and said, "Hey,
he told us about
you
that.
do not treat my wife with disrespect."
Right.
You know.
But he chose to give you the Moses. He didn't have to do that.
Well, he gave that to Carolyn. He was very careful to parse things out such that it wasn't benefiting me. It was benefiting his daughter.
I see. That's okay. I got it. All right. Well, let's carry on.
Oh, by the way, just having a look at Moses. There's one thing about Moses that most people have not been able to pick up.
What's that?
If you look at Moses, what about him is historically incorrect?
His height?
No.
Beard?
No.
He's not wearing sandals?
No.
I don't know.
See if the audience can figure it out.
Well.
Roman numerals on the plates.
Oh.
Rome was, of course, many hundreds of years after that.
Huh.
I
And
can't
there's only
imagine why
3.
somebody decided to put Roman numerals on. It should have been Hebrew numbers.
Right, and there should be 5, I would
Well, either way, I mean, you can see they're sort of stacked, but I thought that was kind of a fun thing. Everybody tries to figure that out.
think. I don't know that I've ever seen Hebrew numbers. I've seen Hebrew letters.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know. Anyway, that's Moses, and Moses is sort of our mascot here. Moses is, if you can feel it, there's a presence with him in here.
It's an impressive sculpture for sure.
I mean, if you look at the details, right down to the veins, the fingernails,
Yeah, I agree with that.
the folds in his robe, everything.
Hmm.
When we first got him, we had our dog, and the dog couldn't make him any different from a person, and for a long time the dog would growl at him.
Hmm.
Or sometimes you find yourself walking in a room, and if you just catch Moses off the sort of peripheral vision, it's almost like you go, whoa, so somebody's standing there.
Yeah, he's looking right at you.
Yeah. Anyway, Moses is our friend here.
Okay. Oh, that's a pretty nice cuckoo clock.
We got that in Germany when we were over in Switzerland, going back and forth between Switzerland and Germany.
Is it operating or
Oh,
not?
well, the reason we've got the little hanging bars and things up is because the cat plays with them. So we can't let them down on the floor. But yeah, oh yeah, it operates. In fact, it has songs that it sings. The little things go around. It's quite extraordinary. It's quite a working cuckoo clock, mechanical. But we haven't used it in a while, and I couldn't see keeping it together without Carolyn being here. Without Carolyn being here, it takes some of the life out of the house.
Absolutely.
I mean, you can see all of Carolyn's books, all of her health books, all of her food books. She's really into health and food, and she has libraries upon top of libraries. You can see some of our prints and things over in the corner that are stored away that we can't hang.
And do you play piano?
I do a little. I've been trying to teach myself, as you see, Music Ace, and yeah, I'm just trying to keep myself busy.
I was going to say you're a little bit like reminding me of sort of Tom Hanks on the island there. You're just here by yourself a lot.
I am. I mean, thank God for Skype, because Carol and I Skype with each other several times a day. And thank goodness for that. We might even be able to get her on if you wanted to, but anyway.
Yeah, maybe we'll do that in a little bit.
Okay.
Let's keep going. There's more to see, of course.
So here's the dining room.
Beautiful windows. I mean, that's the most impressive feature of the house is the amount of light coming in.
Yeah.
And you've got the outdoor patio there. I tell you, there's a feeling of loneliness here.
It is. I'm sorry, but it is.
Don't apologize to me. I
miss her so much. I mean, so much. When I walk around this place and I actually see her clothes and things hanging and her stuff is everywhere, it's like, where is she? You know? She should be here. She should walk around that corner any moment, but she doesn't. And the reality of it is, we really don't know why, other than the political garbage that's been going on around the Clintons and the U.S. government. And the New Zealand government have just kowtowed to a point that it makes no sense whatsoever. None.
You know, and you've told me, Harmon, Hugh, I think, was telling me that there are individual people, or maybe it was you, I can't remember, who you've spoken to who've said, oh yeah, this is anomalous, this shouldn't be happening this way. But then ultimately the bureaucracy causes them to have to not proceed.
That's right. That's right.
So it's a little bit of my hope that by seeing you here in the house, and you know, who knows who will see this video, maybe people will understand. You know, I think, as I said, I think a lot of people may have the initial reaction of, oh well, this guy's rich, he's got a fancy house, but I think you might be happier in a one-bedroom apartment with your wife.
You've got it. You've got it. I mean, I stay here because it doesn't make any sense to not stay here, and I stay here because I feel like I'm holding down the fort waiting for my wife to come home. Because she lives here. You know, to say, well, no, she's no longer a resident here and, you know, she's a resident somewhere else. Baloney. We lived here together for 14, 15 years. And this is our home. I don't care what governments say. I don't care what immigration says. This is our home.
I mean, and you see that, obviously, just by walking around. So let's keep going. Let's keep...
Well, here's the extra bedrooms. And over the years, because I've lost my children now for 20 years, I've had that sort of expectation as well. At some point in time, I'll see them again, I'll bring them home. So we always have a kids' room. Wherever we go, this is the, and of course I had 2 kids, and now they're adults, so it seems kind of silly on the one hand. On the other hand, I've actually got, we've got a couple of godchildren here that are children of one of the guys that worked for me over the years, that they come and visit occasionally, and they play with the toys. The dollhouse is something that Carolyn had for her kids that Carolyn made herself.
Wow.
I mean, that's homemade.
Oh, that's impressive.
I mean, when you pull this thing out, look at this. I mean, it's incredible. It's got the miniature furniture in it. Look at this.
Wow.
So the little girls, there's 2 girls that are my godchildren. When they come here, the first thing they do is run in here and they pull out the dollhouse.
Oh, yeah, I imagine.
And they start playing with it. I mean, and these, ever since these 2 little girls were born, one of them is now 13 or 14. The other one's around 10 or 11. It's incredible.
This is so well done.
In fact, you see this? That's Carolyn's girls when they were little.
Wow. I mean, this is just...
Carolyn she's a craft person, which is why she has her craft room, you know, with the sewing and all the other stuff. She makes jewelry. She does crafts in an incredible way. I mean, she's really creative.
I'll tell you, Harmon.
And look at this. Look at this. This makes me want to cry. The master bedroom.
Wow.
Oh, that looks like the kids have stored some things in there. But anyway, here's the master
Candy
bedroom.
wrappers.
Yeah.
Mini batteries.
Yeah.
Wow. Wow. I mean, it's a very, very well made dollhouse.
It is.
And so, Carolyn cut the wood and all
Oh
the...
yeah. She
How
put it all
long did it
together
take to
herself.
create
It
this?
came with some sort of a kit that she started out with, and then she had to put it all together and make it all work and create some of the pieces, and she had to put the roof together with all the shingles and the whole thing. Yeah.
Seems it would take a long time.
She's really proud of it. She's kept it over the years, and you can imagine moving that, as fragile as it is, without destroying
That
it.
came from Canada to
Oh
here.
yeah, sure. But all the kids' dolls and...
And you haven't seen your children in 20 years?
No. Some of the dolls here, by the way, were my kids' dolls.
How old were they?
Those were her kids' dolls. The stuff that was in, I think I showed you in Carolyn's craft room, the lamb and so on. That was that was my daughter's stuffed animal.
Lamb chop.
Yeah.
And so your children have never been to New Zealand,
No,
correct?
of course not. No.
Just Canada.
And they were only in Canada for a while. That's where they were taken from me. But as I say, everywhere we've gone, we've always created a place for them, room for them. And if they're watching this, please know that I've always loved you. Always. This is the extra bedroom for guests.
Very nice.
And by the way, this is all Carolyn. She
It's
also
beautiful.
does the decorating. And you know, that little stuffed animal over there was her mother's
Oh, wow.
when her mother died. So she's kept that to sort of in memory of Mom.
Mm-hmm.
I think.
This is really nice, Harmon, because people can get a sense for...
See that? That was her mother's when her mother was 2 years old. We've got a photograph around here. In fact, this is it right here. That's her mother when she was 2 years old.
Wow, with the bear.
With the bear, that's right. And the bear is in here. No, not that bear over there.
Oh,
There's a bear in here.
I see it.
That's the bear right there. See that bear?
Yes.
That bear is 80 years old, well, 90 years old now.
Wow.
There's a photograph of her actually pushing that pram, and I don't see that in this one. She's got the photos, but of her actually pushing that little pram, and the pram is, again, wow. She put this stuff away because it was beginning to fade in the sun.
Mm.
And this little phone was her mother's. Hello.
Wow. It's a bit like a museum, this house.
In some ways it is. In some ways it is. I mean, Carolyn has always kept her memories, and she's always cherished her family in spite of how they've treated her.
Perhaps the Dare brothers will see this and
Yeah, I hope so.
be ashamed of themselves.
I hope so. And this is our office.
Of course.
It's a little bit rearranged because we've set it up for the videos that you and I have been doing, and I've even shrouded the lights up top with some paper to sort of keep the reflection off the painting or the print of the world on the wall and so on. And that's, by the way, our two goddaughters over there on that photograph. Or no, that's one of them. That was Yanni when she was young.
I think it's nice for people to see this room that we always, see you behind the computer screen in, and now, get a feel for your surroundings and
my kids. Last time I saw them. Danielle was 6. Tyler was 2.5. Isaac was 4.
Tyler, your son's name is?
Yeah, the oldest one.
Sorry.
He's now 30.
How come they don't call you?
Well, I've tried to communicate with Tyler on Facebook, and he's communicated a little bit. They're very, as you can imagine, they're very cautious. And when the government has described you as a bad person, as evil, and of course, my ex-wives have also promoted that. They're very cautious. I've actually communicated a little bit with Danielle, again through Facebook, and I actually had a chance to Skype her at one point in time. But at one point she said, "Look, I've been hurt all my life. I was hurt by my mother. They were put back into child abuse." And she said, I just can't take a chance. She said,
it's emotionally overwhelming.
So she just went away again, yeah.
Wow.
And that's my two goddaughters, Yanni and Tiana. They were much younger then. I just dearly, I love kids.
Do you think that you could send these videos to your children?
Absolutely.
Facebook?
Absolutely.
Are they watching them? Do you have any indication?
They have a Facebook. I know Danielle does. My son apparently just got married this last year, on September this last year. I got word through Danielle. She just sent me a note on it.
Wow. That's too bad that you couldn't be there.
Oh, he's completely estranged himself to me. And my mother passed away 2 years ago, but this is one of the last birthday cards I got from her.
Where was she, in Canada?
She was in Ohio.
Ohio.
I hadn't seen her for 14 years.
Oh.
But I was always talking with her on Skype and talking with her on the phone. This was given to me by my mother.
Was she not well enough to travel to New Zealand?
No, she wasn't. She was in her 90s when she passed away. But I do my best and leave the rest to God. This was representative of my great-grandmother. She was Cherokee Indian.
I imagine you do a lot of reading.
I do. I've read all this stuff. In fact, I've got probably, now that I'm on Kindle, I've read probably 200 books on Kindle in the last year and a half or so.
Perhaps you could give Robert David Steele a run for his money in reviewing books.
Maybe so. Maybe so, yeah. Maybe so.
Well, what else would you like to show us?
Well, I don't think anybody wants to see the bathrooms.
No. But it's nice to see your environment here. And, I mean, when I walked in the house, that was the first feeling that I had, was
Let's
the
walk through.
sense of loneliness. And, I mean, even though it's a beautiful home, it's almost a reminder of the situation.
I had no idea I'd feel this emotional, but it really does cause me to feel a bit broken. This house is so big. When we first rented it, we said we don't really need this much space, but we had a lot to store, and there's so much storage space in this house that it ended up working really well for us.
Right.
One of the things I enjoy is I enjoy the outdoors. I enjoy a lot of woodworking, and I chainsaw wood for the church now. I'm not allowed to just open the big garage door. I'm not allowed to work here. I'm not allowed to make money, but I can volunteer. So I volunteer I cut wood for the church. There's a guy that works with me a lot, and we sell the wood for charity.
He sells it.
Yeah, he does, yeah. And of course the money goes to the church, and yeah, so I do that. And then
So
I managed to
technically
get some wood out of it so that I can keep my fireplace going, which is a benefit, I suppose.
but the thing is, Harmon, you wouldn't even be allowed to say sell something on eBay, right? Because you can't. How do you? You can't pay taxes.
It all belongs to Carolyn.
Wow.
I mean, in the end, I had to literally anything that I owned is gone. Everything that you see here, including the car and everything, belongs to Carolyn, and I'm basically here taking care of our stuff and still trying to do what I can with some of the business stuff that we still own. In other words, it's interesting. I can be a director of a company, but I'm not allowed to work, and I'm not allowed to earn, and I'm not allowed to be employed.
And what about taxes? How you don't pay taxes? When's the last time you paid taxes to any country?
1988.
Wow. And then, but when did you relinquish your U.S. citizenship?
2000 and...
Why did you stop paying taxes in 1988? What about those?
Well, when we came to New Zealand, I had a lot of property in the U.S. because I was a big developer back then.
You told me.
Lost a lot of that property back there in the late 80s, and so I had huge losses that I could carry forward. So I just carried those losses forward until they completely ran out, and beyond that point, we ended up coming to New Zealand. So.
Got it.
But yeah, and when I relinquished my U.S. citizenship, that was one of the things they did. They looked through all my tax stuff because they won't let you relinquish your citizenship
if you owe the money.
If you owe the money. So I gave them all my latest tax stuff, gave them my tax background, and they came back to me and said, "Yep, you're clean," and they said, "You're gone." But yeah, this is my this is the 4-car garage that I keep all my junk in. I'd like to have a shop, but of course we don't own the place, so I can't really build anything in. But that trailer that right there is what I use to gather wood. It's one that I bought a while back that we used a lot for chainsawing and splitting wood and so on. And you can see there's some straight. And these sawhorses, you can put wood across that and cut wood with chainsaws. So all this stuff is kind of like me trying to stay busy.
Yeah.
I mean, I've created little temporary things that I can do work on, like the grinder on top of a sawhorse. But it's me staying busy is really what it is.
It's really taken so much from you, Harmon.
Got a wood shed there, which is really handy, and then of course the regular shed for storing garden stuff and so on. But it's a fairly big, I mean, it's a half-acre site here, half-acre